I'll be talking about financial literacy. I'm going to be touching up on budgeting and what does it mean, how to do it, like because every country has a specific cost that is accrued to specific expenses that might be different from other countries, and so having a look at what a Canadian budget should look like is definitely useful. So we already talked about those. So there are two types of accounts with when you open up with a bank. You have a checking account and a savings account. With the savings account, you can go with registered education savings plan, just a regular tax-free savings account, registered retirement savings plan, and registered disability. So that's the first one's for education, savings, retirement, and disability. And I think somebody already mentioned that if you save up for education and you end up getting a scholarship of some sort, that money isn't really wasted or isn't really gone. It could always be used for other things. Given like, of course, there are probably some conditions, but it's not really locked down into sole education.
To me, and just one note, if you can go
Sure.
a little bit slower.
Oh yes, please. If I'm going fast, let me know.
Yeah.
Let's give it maybe a good 5 seconds for interviews. So there are two types of cards. It's good this time I use Scotiabank because we have RBC and CIBC. I don't want to use one and then leave the other. So Scotiabank's fine. We have debit cards and we have credit cards. Debit cards are money that you have in your account, money that you possess that you are able to spend. So if you have $100,000 in your bank, you are able to spend $100,000. It's all yours. There's no arguments over here. A credit card is a card that you issue from that the bank issues to you, and if you want to use it, or if you have a sort of limit to use. So if you have $500 a limit, you cannot use past the $500. Those $500 you have to pay back. So you're borrowing money from the bank and then giving back. There are two types of credit cards, and this is something that we get asked a lot, or you will need to know if you are buying something online. It's MasterCard and Visa, and as you see, the same banking company could have both Visa and MasterCard. And so when you buy something online, they will ask you, is it MasterCard, is it Visa, and you will know from the logo at the back of or at the end of your card. So interest rates are the best way to explain interest rate. It's making money off your initial sum. So once you put money in the bank, uh, specifically in the savings account, you are able to generate more money with that money. So that's called interest. So I think interest in Canada are around the 0.5, 0.1%. I'm not 100% sure what they are, but that's extra money that you are making on top of the money that you already saved up. And so it depends. The interest rate depends on what bank or the banking that is issuing the interest. It depends on what kind of account do you have, and it depends on the offers that are already inside they are already going on around with the bank. Also, loans from banks or from lending companies will get you to pay more than what you borrowed. So if you borrowed $1,000, the bank might ask you to pay back $1,100, and that $100 extra is a specific percentage that is your interest rate. And so, in order to calculate your interest rate or how banks calculate it, just to kind of give an idea, so you have your initial sum that for example, you borrowed, which is, let's say, $5,000. You give it a little time. So it's $5,000 for 2 years. You have 2 years to repay that. And then there's a specific interest rate, and that gives you the bigger amount. And so once you once you borrow $5,000 for 2 years, and then you pay a 5% interest rate, for example, on it, you will have to pay a sum that is bigger than $5,000. That is why it's just the interest rate. And same thing goes for if you are putting money in your savings account. If you put $10,000 in your savings account and then you give it time and then the interest rate to, let's say it's 1%, it's going to become 1,100. It's going to become 1,200. It's going to accumulate. It's going to go bigger.
And Jimmy, just a little bit slower at this point.
Sure, yeah. So there are other investments that somebody could get into, and the more, the more I think this is not really for people who have just came to Canada. This is something I just added. But if you are looking into doing some investments and increasing your money, there are always some other types of investments that include securities. So, for example, stocks, which is buying into shares of a company; bonds, which is bonds are issued by banks, and are graded upon like the higher the risk, the higher the reward. And options really close to stocks. We're not gonna really get into it. You can buy into mutual funds and ETFs. So that's when I'm just gonna give it a second. Sorry. Mutual funds and ETFs are when you put your money with a mutual or a fund manager, somebody who has a large sum of money that is from like other people who want to invest. So I have $5,000. I give it to a manager. And this person will take all that money and will invest it for me and will give me a percentage of return. So once the fund, or once you pay up for the money, the person will tell you, okay, I will pay you back 2% every month, or I will pay you back, I will make you an investment. I will make you a return of 10% every year. And so by the end of the year, you will have that money plus the 10%. Commodities, you can buy into oil, you can buy into gold. These are just to kind of buy into high prices and sell at low prices, and you can make the profit in between. And there are other services from your bank where they might tell you, open up some sort of account with us, or you can register for a service and you can pay in every month like a specific amount. Once that happens, um, or like after, let's say 20, 30 years, we will be paying you this much. You would both, you and the bank would be agreeing on a specific sum, a specific number, and how many years it takes to get there, and all the other requirements. And just a quick reminder that the higher the risk for any investment, the higher the reward. So if you are the kind of person who can, or who want to take the risk, there are definitely some investments that you can make that gives you a lot of returns. But if you don't like to take risks and you want to kind of stay on the safe side, there are some other investments that give you less money, but they are safe or safer than other types of investments. So services from your bank are usually safer. Um, Mutual funds are within that kind of area, a little safe. And securities, commodities, these are not the safest because it requires a lot of work, a lot of research on your behalf, and it fluctuates a lot with the market. So you kind of need to be really on edge and make sure that you know what you're doing. So this is a void check. Void checks are asked from almost every client or from every institution that requires to pay you, or that requires you to pay them. So for example, if you are going to pay your rent or your electricity and you are looking to set it up to be pre-authorized, and pre-authorized means uh, so they take from your account without asking you. So it's an automatic process. So if we were to set it up like that, they would usually ask you for a void check, and a void check can be found in a couple of reasons, a couple of ways. Sorry, we can either go online and ask for the void check, or we could or you can go to a bank and you can ask them for your void check, and they could help you with that. Just to remember that void checks
Just
are
to add, Just to
Yes.
add you on that, Jimmy, void checks can be downloaded from online banking as well. It's that easy actually right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's, I
You can
think those are
download
the
that
ones.
from, you don't have to go to the bank. You can just download it from that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you very
I
much.
presented both options because usually sometimes it might be hard for a newcomer
Yeah,
to
exactly.
access
Yeah,
online services if
yeah,
they're not used to it.
exactly. Because if you can use online banking, you can go at least 50% job you can do from your laptop or mobile as well. So that's very easy, and you can download that void check and use it for your payments and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just a quick reminder that this is a presentation that we usually give to all kinds of newcomers who might also not be able to access online services or are not used to accessing online services. So until they do, we try to get them used to, or if they need to access that service, we just kind of let them know that there are other options. You're not limited to being pressured onto online banking. But no, 100%. Yes, you could do it online. You can go on you can do it on your mobile. You can do it on your laptop. Uh, there are a bunch of ways, and yes, banks have made it really easy nowadays to grab a void check.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
And then the other thing that might be asked from you is bank statements. And so bank statements are really necessary for example, if you are applying for government provincial assistance, for example. There are some services within the community where they ask you for your statements to kind of do just a checkup of what's of your account, or you might actually want to kind of see your own spendings and your own earnings on your own, just to make sure that everything's on track. And if so, uh, there are also a couple ways. It's same thing with the void check. You can take them from online. You can take them from your mobile banking, your online banking on your laptop. You can go very like far, like back in the past with them, and you can also ask from them like if you don't are not comfortable. If you're not comfortable with online banking or not ready yet, you can ask them from like bank tellers. They usually can help you with that. Okay, so these are kind of quick tips to get better with your spending and better with your budgeting. Sometimes this is something that I noticed that using my card, I tend to use it a lot because I don't know, like psychologically speaking, I'm not very I'm just tapping a card. I'm not really taking anything out of my pocket. So if you are that kind of person, you could take your money out from ATMs and you can use the cash just to pay for groceries, and then that cash reducing that might give you the effect that, or might give you the idea that your money is going lower, so you might be more conscientious of your spendings. Another quick tip is to make a grocery list so you can better budget your spending. I know my family, when I used to go with my mom to a grocery store, we never made a grocery list, and we ended up with much more money spent than we actually thought we were going to. And so when you go there and you say you just want bread, milk, and eggs, for example, and then you look around, you always find you will look around, you see, hey, it wouldn't hurt to get, for example, some tomatoes. It wouldn't hurt to get some cabbage, and then that just racks up and racks up to become a big bill. So if you are looking to take care of your bill or reduce your bill, make a grocery list and try to stick with it as much as you can. Beware of the checklist near their cash register. Companies are very smart. So what they do is these companies pay extra to be on these registers, right next to the cash registers. And once we have children with us and we're in a lineup waiting to pay, the children will look at the candy. They will sit there and cry. They want candy, and that kind of forces you to buy into these chocolates or these sweets that could be somewhat expensive, especially if it's not in your budget. So just be careful about that. Just try to remember that they are trying to do that intentionally. They're trying to make you buy them. If it's not in your budget, if it's not in your list, try to resist the temptation as much as you can. I know I do a really bad job at it, but it's something that we have to get used to. And last thing, think twice before bringing kids to grocery stores. Kids bring kids to grocery stores. As you can see in the picture, they can be really consistent at whining or asking for stuff. And sometimes if it's not in your budget, and usually like you don't want them to start crying in the supermarket, or you don't want them to be sad, maybe yourself, like you kind of like are sad when you see them sad. And so you would you would want to, or you would not be able to resist the urge to kind of buy them this extra stuff that might be outside of your budget. And so uh, think twice before bringing kids. If you are the kind of person who will break down in front of your kid, just don't bring them to the supermarket. It might be a better idea. Okay, now we're going to talk about fraud. And fraud is something that we've experienced a lot with all of our clients and we have a lot of clients who fall for it, unfortunately, since they don't know the system and the rules, and it's not something that they're really used to. Fraud is when somebody who pretends he's from the government, for example, or he pretends he's from the bank, or from Apple, from Samsung, or whatever. They call and they pretend that they're the government or what are these companies, and they ask you for money or they ask you for personal information. And so what happens usually is they might even call you by your name. So they might say, "Hello, am I speaking with Jimmy Allen?" And then they got my name, I don't know from where, but then that's kind of a way to reassure me that yes, I am the government, or yes, I am the company who you're dealing with. And so by saying that, now they increased my confidence that this is the government, and they will try and take advantage of me by asking me for money or telling me that I'm going to be kicked out of the country, or that I'm going to lose my bank account or something like that. I'll just give it a second. So always be careful of fraud. Be careful, and as a rule, the government will never call you and will never ask you for personal information over the phone when they call you. You might call them, and then that's when you call them on their number. You're 100% sure that that's the government. But if somebody from CRA calls you and tells you that your social insurance number has been disabled, you need to pay $500 by sending 500 by sending Apple gift cards or something like that. This is 100% not correct, and they are 100% trying to scam you. Yes, you're right, Rian. Like it's happening so much. It happens with me all the time. And on my work phone, I'm not sure how they got it, but it's something that we're seeing all the time, and they just call you. They say that they're from the government, and they don't ask you for money from your account or anything from your bank account, because the bank accounts are very secure. They cannot access that. They cannot really get into your bank accounts and ask for money, or they cannot receive transfers from money from your bank account. Usually they ask for gift cards from Amazon, from Apple, from wherever. Lottery calls, I've never had those, but that's a new idea. Yeah, like oh, and also like messages on your like text messages you might receive that. I actually received one yesterday. I want to read it to you. Um, Hi Jimmy, you currently got $1,000 available in your account. Claim your full amount here, and they give me a link. And so that link is just trying to fish your information. They're trying to
Exactly.
ask for your information, and then do whatever they could do with it. So be very careful. As a general rule, I think I have it here. So do not respond to anyone that asks for personal information. Your banks will never call you and ask, what is your password? What is your bank account? You usually call them. And so when you call them, you're asking for a service from them. You are 100% safe of that. But they will not call you and tell you, we'll delete your bank account or remove your bank account if you don't give us your password or something like that. If in doubt, contact your bank immediately and directly. They will be able to verify.
Can I add one
Uh,
thing,
yes, go ahead.
Jimmy?
Jimmy, I just wanted to say,
Yeah.
like, Really quickly, the one I get all the time, and I have been getting recently, too. I've been getting a phone call from my bank saying I missed a payment, and they're demanding my Visa card number for a payment.
Mhm.
That should never, a bank would never call you for that reason. They maybe call you if you missed a payment, but they shouldn't be asking for Visa card numbers or any personal information. But the
Right.
e-transfer one that you outlined, Jimmy, that one I've been getting all the time, and it looks legit, guys. So if you get an email saying that you received money through Interact e-transfer, email transfer that you weren't expecting, please don't click the link.
Right. Just gonna give it a second.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
second most common call that we all get is a call from CRA that you've done a crime and we need your SIN number for that. So
Right.
you press one and get the calls. It goes to somewhere, I mean, some of the call centers, and they will ask your number, your passport number, and SIN numbers more specifically, because with that they will apply for cards for you, and that's a fraud. So
Exactly.
this is very common here. And sometimes lottery calls, as I mentioned, that they might call you and say, hey, you've won $3.5 million and a brand new Ferrari. So you please send us $3,000 in this account and we need it now. So this is the
Yeah.
calls that create a pressure. So just immediately hang up on these calls because these are all scam calls. So this happens very frequently within e-commerce. I got calls every month on this. So it's very common here.
Yeah.
So these are the new things that we can
Exactly.
be aware of.
Yes.
Great
No.
job, Mimi.
Thank you so much. The other thing that I've seen, because I have a lot of clients on my WhatsApp, on my business phone, and what I've seen happening is they send me these texts of, you have received, or yes, you just won $500. You have to share it to 10 people in order to claim it, or something like that. Again, this is not true. Walmart, Amazon, all these companies, they do not work like that. They will not ask you to like share just, this is just kind of a scam to see how far it could go. And then last thing, I cannot stress enough, the government, the banks, they will not call you and ask you for personal information. Never. It will never happen. That's why the governments and banks usually send notices by letter. So these letters are legit. They will not call you. And the last thing is, if you check your account, always check your bank accounts. If there's a purchase that you're kind of unsure of, that you did not make yourself, you could call your bank. You could go to your bank, just kind of see why that payment is there. It might be something that you've paid for, or that's something that's pre-authorized. It might be that somebody took your card information and was able to make purchases on your behalf. And so you can always ask the bank about that.
Thank you, Jimmy. And just for the sake of time, some of our participants will be leaving. I know some of the representatives from the banks need to move on to their next responsibilities, and just wanted to see how much more time we will need, and if we can start asking our participants to write questions in the chat if they have any.
Okay, yeah. If anybody wants has some questions, they can write it up. I have maybe like I can do this and wrap it up in like 2 minutes.
2
Not
minutes.
even.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this is what a budgeting or a budget plan should look like in Canada. In Canada, you have these kind of extra costs that you pay than from your other countries, or less costs that you pay. And so if anybody needs this sheet, they can contact me. I can send it to them. But basically, you will need to look at what you make. So what's your income between your jobs, between your spouse take-home pay, between your income support, so either federal assistance, provincial assistance, EI, child tax benefits, investments that's not there, but any kind of investments you make, and any other regular source of income. So that would make all your income. Just gonna give it a second for interpretation. And then for your expenses, you have your rent, your power, your internet, your telephone, your cable, if you're paying that. I think that's kind of like gone right now. Long distance, we don't really see that as much anymore. Transportation between bus passes, taxis, maybe also car, and then car insurances and everything. Between food and then other stuff. If you own a car, then you can write down your monthly car payments, your monthly insurance payments, and then your gas costs. If you own a house, what's your mortgage, what's your property tax? Usually these stuff you would get familiar with if you are starting to buy or if you're looking to buy a house. It's not really something that newcomers tend to do on their first month, 2 months, at least the newcomers I've dealt with. So it takes a good, maybe I would say 6, 7 months to actually get used to the Canadian lifestyle and to think of buying a house, at least by mortgage. But anyways, by calculating your total income, your total expenses, you'll be able to see what's your remainder, how much you are left with every month. And then that money, you can either use it to, treat yourself. Nothing wrong with that. Or you can use it to save up on the other saving plans that we saw earlier. And that would kind of be a good idea if you have children who want to go for education, or if you want to plan for your retirement, all that. And that's it. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, yeah, please send it in the chat, and depending on who's the question directed to, we'll get to it.
That was an awesome presentation, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy, thanks. That was great.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I really love the don't bring your kids to the grocery store. I was like, I was folding, laughing there.